Hello everyone to track number 2. I welcome you all in this exciting session. Personally, I live in Lucerne. I was quite disappointed that this conference this year is in Zurich and no longer in the beautiful KKL in Lucerne. But honestly, I entered this room and thought, wow, this is just amazing. And I'm not sure if my first speaker would have found the way all the way to Lucerne, but actually he is here today. My name is Philipp Schmid. I work as a head Industry 4.0 and machine learning at the company CSCM. And my first guest today is Tomasz Pelczarski. He is a data and AI principal solution specialist at Microsoft. He's responsible for some of the biggest enterprise customers globally and is absolutely passionate about what's going on currently in the IT landscape. Tomasz will talk about the new influence of AI, especially ChatGPT, and he will explain what Microsoft has in mind with OpenAI and basically these new generative models. Please give a warm welcome on stage, Tomasz. One question, Tomasz.
Yeah.
I hear there are some black belt ninjas at Microsoft. Are you one of those?
I'm a humble Padawan. Let's say. All right. Thank you so much for coming here. As I have been already presented, I work at Microsoft, and what I wanted to speak today is really, did transformer models begin Terminator era? I think many of us has asked that question already, or asked that question. For sure, a change has come, because before we thought that technology is rather for simple tasks like do heavy lifting things that people didn't want to do or were not enabled to do. That's why I put Obelix here, so a strong man, with humble appearance. But now we face a different reality.
Will be invented like no other.
Let's remind a film that was filmed quite long ago.
Versatile,
30 seconds.
Indestructible. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It will feel no pity, no remorse, no pain, no fear. It will have only one purpose: to return to the present and prevent the future. This weapon will be called the Terminator.
Yeah, I think most of us have seen that film, and there are many comparisons to Matrix, to Minority Report, or this. But actually, should we fear? Should we fear that the technology will destroy mankind completely? Or maybe, should I say, are we able, as a mankind, able to draw a border, a clear border, behind which technology should not interfere with human nature? That's the question, I think. And previous invents, as you see, had similar problems. Cars with red flags or calculators in 1966 had the same problems. And I think we are in a similar moment right now, and that's why I'd like to talk about responsible AI, because my thesis for today is that we fear something that we don't know how it functions, and then if we don't know how it functions, then we can't really use it in a proper way. I won't talk about history of AI. I'm sure you have already seen that for some time. What I will focus on is how we at Microsoft look at Azure OpenAI, how it has been created, and what measures we take to make it really responsible. So first of all, if you want to see how it was created with Azure OpenAI, go to transparency notes of this specific service. And by the way, other cognitive services products we have, like Personalizer, like oncophenotype model, clinical trials models, they also have these transparency notes, which describe quite in detail what was taken to train the models, what are the limitations of the models, what are the best use cases of these models. So on that page, for example, you can find information that GPT-3 base models were trained on publicly available data, and this data has been sourced from a couple of sources. First, from crawling of web pages, and this is one of the services, Common Crawl, which was used for that. Specifically, a filtered version of this data available in that service was used as an input, and that data comprised 60% of the weighted pre-training data set used for training GPT-3. Besides, we used also that service, which has higher quality data. And apart from that, there were two sources, two large internet books corpora found in internet, and English Wikipedia. English Wikipedia was also in extenso, let's say, used to pre-train GPT-3 model. Okay, and then also for the GPT-4 base model, it was also trained on publicly available data, plus data which was licensed by OpenAI, and then fine-tuned using reinforcement learning with human feedback. So these are very general descriptions of how that was done, so no magic, no mysteries. And of course, with all that, you know, GPT-4 was passing medical exams, was passing MBA exams, so pretty cool, pretty helpful it seems. And of course, it goes with some pros and cons in every case. Let's start with the watch-outs. What we learned from so far is that verification becomes critical, meaning proper human oversight of what's been generated is very important, as well as measures that make it really helpful to include only relevant information and qualify and watch out for the outputs so that the model is really doing only that what it was designed for. And I would say even that in every responsible AI use case of AI, there is a human at the end. Because it should be the human, that's what I believe, and I think that's also what we believe at Microsoft, that humans should have finally the decision what to do. It's, I would say, similar to airplanes where you do have autopilot, your co-pilot, but you then also have two human beings to decide at the end of the day what's good or what's not. As answers may express bias, misinformation, the data sets, the way how it's trained, it should be watched out, and all the process of having that information verified and all the techniques to really monitor performance of these models also should be implied. And as it doesn't have any human empathy inside, right? It's only a statistical model. We think that channels for feedback are extremely important because you wouldn't like to spoil your relations with your customer, right? You wouldn't like to have the model to misbehave. You'd like to answer in a proper way, so that's why this measure of having a call, a place, a website where a customer can report any misuse or anything that really bothers him or her should be appropriate. Of course, it is cool. You can also, for example, use this one button in Edge Internet Explorer and start right away, because it helps to really generate a lot of artifacts, texts, even images. So I think it's also important to see how legal works in European Union and the United States in that matter. Maybe you have heard that a couple of days ago, members of European Parliament voted and agreed on a negotiating position for the talks with member countries on how AI should be tackled. So basically what they agreed on is that there is complete ban on biometrical biometric surveillance. Also, emotion recognition is not allowed, and predictive policing eye systems are not allowed. So hopefully no minority report case in Europe, at least. It's also said that every use of AI should be somehow noted in the content. So you can imagine having a watermark or a certificate like we use for digital signatures, some sort of information that this specific content has been created with AI. On the contrary, in the US, even though the basics, let's say basic approach is very much the same, the structure and nature of the United States is different. This is a federation of states. Every state has federal government, so they have a lot of commissions. So in that case, their legal frameworks are not that concise and united as in the European Union. One of the most important institutions here is National Institute of Standards and Technology. And as you can see, they released on January a report on using that. If that will be followed, no one knows, because it's not obligatory. However, the previous such a report on cybersecurity has been widely adopted. Okay, let's move then to the use cases. As I said, there are good and bad use cases. There are some cases, when I talk to my customers, that are more machine learning cases or for really different areas. One of the things I learned so far is that it's a really great way, AI is a great way here to start discussion about everything, because almost everything is associated with that, and it's a kind of holy grail to solve everything, but it's not. So there are a couple of cases which are really good and will prove the value. One is content generation, summarization, code generation, and semantic search. For content generation, it may be, for example, helping agents in contact centers to better answer questions, or it can be, for marketing, a global content hub where different marketing materials, leaflets, web pages, mails, messages can be generated based on one set of data for different channels. Another one, summarization. Again, it can be used for contact centers because it can relieve agents from summarizing the calls, so taking precious minutes from agents' time to really streamline their work. Or for researchers, it can be summarization of scientific papers, because who has right now the time to read all of these papers that appear in your specific domain? Such a summarization of the papers that appear for relevant area would be really helpful. And this scientific search project, for example, for one of my customers, is really something we start to deliver. Then code generation, I think you also realize that it's something very helping, and GitHub with Copilot is also something like that. And then semantic search, which actually is, my personal opinion, the best way to use that AI capabilities for a company, because you can then connect the power of GPT model with the internal knowledge base of a company and really use that only for your organization, your company, not using that or showing that to your competition. And here again, maybe you have heard a couple of days ago, Microsoft also presented to public preview Azure OpenAI with your own data, which means you can connect your data, your files, and just start querying this and have much of the benefits. Of course, there are cases that can connect a couple of them. But if we start talking about these cases, data and privacy is also a question that comes in the context of responsible AI. I mean, do we have to expose ourselves to external world or not? So if we say your data is your data, it means that everything you put there, it's on your Azure tenant. It's in your subscription. It is only visible to you and no one else. It's encrypted at rest, so only you can have access to this data. And then when we say that your data from any fine-tuning is not used by us, it means that if you really decide to fine-tune your models, although we rather not really ask people to do that because there are other better ways to have better results, it means that everything you put in prompts and everything you get stays with your company. It's not used by us for anything. It can be used, as we see farther on one of the slides, to look for any kind of fraud, not allowed cases. And of course, a part of that, there is a whole layer of security measures available on Azure. Now, how this process of responsible AI looks in Azure OpenAI. As you can see here, on the left, you have customer actions. There is Azure OpenAI service here, and then you have your result. So by default, anyone who starts using Azure OpenAI gets into that path. So everything is written and created, let it be image or text. It stays, and it's 30-day retention, and then there is Azure Content Safety Service, which you also can use totally separately to find if there are any problems with that. Now, because there are companies who either are not allowed to expose this data to external users, there is an option to opt out from that mechanism. Coming to the end of my presentation, we also have on our website a number of resources you can use right now to plan for responsible AI in your company. And for example, there is a template already there, so you can see if your case is really following that responsible AI principles, and the presentation will be available to you afterwards, so you'll be able to click that links. And there is also a GitHub repo, a responsible AI solution accelerator, where you can have a dashboard and really also check from more practical side how this can be done. And last slide, future of AI. You can see Sal Khan with Khan Academy talking about how he used OpenAI for their academy. A very creative use case. Strongly recommend to listen to that. And Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, the one who invented the backpropagation algorithm, he's really scary about defense cases where AI can be used for military purposes. That's why he moved to Canada, because he didn't want to use grants from US connected to defense. Okay, finishing.
Keep it under 65. We don't want to be pulled over.
Affirmative.
No. You gotta listen to the way people talk. You don't say affirmative or some shit like that. You say, no problemo. And if someone comes up to you with an attitude, you say, eat me. And if you want to shine them on, it's hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, so Terminators can also learn, and from the film to film can be better. And I could finish with hasta la vista, but I'd like to leave you with 3 questions. So the first one I said in the middle, are we really able to find that barrier behind which technology should not interfere with human nature? And then back to that films, are we really able to get the consensus? Because only definition is not enough. We need to find a consensus. And finally, do we have enough time to really do that? Because technology develops very quickly. Thank you so much. That was all from my side.
Tomasz, thank you very much for this inspiring talk. Prepare in your head a question. We have 5 minutes time. Maybe one question from my side. You tangled quickly the legal aspects. You said, okay, we have to clearly annotate this is produced by a machine. What's about the copyright law? Who is taking the responsibility of infringement of copyright? Is this on your side, or is the user left on his own?
Yeah, absolutely valid question. So, by the way, on the OpenAI side, which is the separate company from Microsoft, just to be clear, on the OpenAI side, it's openly written that everything you create is yours. So that's one thing. And it's also Microsoft standard. Whatever you create, it's yours. And then the question is if it was created by a man or a machine. And there is a debate in the United States. And as far as I know, the stand is that you can't protect copyright for that content because it was created by a machine. So, and there was recently a case in the UK with a lawyer who created some content not informing the court it was created by AI. He was also found guilty. I don't know the details, but that's an ongoing discussion, actually.
Will be a tricky question, tricky story. There's a question from the audience.
Yeah, thanks very much for the talk. And actually continuing on the same question, but more the copyright of the training data sets, because one of the provisions of the new EU AI Act, the proposal, is that kind of creators of these large language models and other type of models need to disclose whether copyrighted data has been used in the training process. What is Microsoft's stance on that? Are we going to see GPT 4.5, where all the copyrighted material has been kind of removed from the training sets, or yeah, what's the next steps? Because publicly available data doesn't mean that it's not copyrighted. Like I could put my blog online for everybody to access, but it doesn't mean that I let them do whatever they want with the content.
Yeah, again, of course, valid question. And to be honest, I cannot answer that in a single sentence. What I can say is that what you can find on the webpage of Microsoft describing what kind of data has been used, or if there are papers describing what kind of data is used, this is the only information I think you can get. I think I'm not also entitled to speculate or find anything that I really don't know on that specific subject. So anyway, in every case that our customer has any concern about that space, we work with our legal part of Microsoft, and we provide a lot of information, which also you can find in the Trust Center on our webpage, where you find a lot of documents regarding maybe this, I don't know, I haven't looked that into detail, but also different accreditations and compliance with different rules, etc. So that's the general answer. I'm sorry I didn't answer as you probably wanted, but that's how it is.
Thank you very much, Thomas. We have a tight schedule today. I see there will be more questions. I hope you are around. Here is a present from the
Wow, thank you so much.
the 10th bottle. You should find your name on it. A warm applause for Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you.